Welcome back. Today, we're talking about lemonading. In other words, making lemonade out of lemons. We do a lot of lemonading in our personal and professional lives, not as acceptance, not as pretending everything is fine, and definitely not as toxic positivity, but as a way of deciding what actually goes into us and what doesn't. Because lemonading isn't about taking everything you're handed. It's about deciding what's worth squeezing and what you're allowed to leave on the table. Let's dive into the well. Welcome to the Edgewell Podcast, a show created for, by, and with teachers. I'm Alex.
And I'm Chelsea. Our goal is to share insights and connect with fellow teachers on how to thrive both personally and professionally.
Join us as we dive deep into the well of information filled with relatable tips, practical discussions, and ideas that go way beyond the classroom walls. Let's be well
and do well together. Okay, here we go, Alex. We are making some lemons into lemonade. I got to tell you, I've gotten pretty good at this over the years. It took some time to learn, but I have a lot of lemonade floating around my house now. So we are talking about lemonading, what it is, why it matters, and how it can empower us to be well and do well, both in and out of the classroom. So please tell me, what is lemonading really?
Okay, lemonading is this practice where you are filtering. You're filtering difficult or stressful situations in a new way so that you can see positive opportunities. So instead of just completely ignoring problems, it means looking at them through a different lens, adapting, often finding humor, and creating something good out of the challenge. It also involves, and this is the most important part for me, taking what works and letting go of what doesn't work. So taking a resilience building mindset and turning some adversity into growth. It's a lot of, what am I going to take and what am I going to leave behind? This one really speaks to me, Chelsea, because of the marriage to personal agency and the belief that you can actually shape your life through those intentional choices. It involves goal setting, planning, and taking control of situations instead of feeling like, everything around you is dictating how and what you do. Before we get started, I have to speak the truth here in that we are talking about lemonading. I'm picturing this tall glass of lemonade and I'm looking outside. We are in blizzard-like conditions, and I happen to know that this episode is going to be released in the summer where hopefully everyone is enjoying a tall glass of lemonade.
Yeah, I'm going to lemonade that right now and just say that we have something to look forward to. We have that warm weather to look forward to in actually just a few months. But today, we are just blessed with another snowstorm, and that means we get to stay warm and cozy in our houses and get this podcast episode done. So that's pretty great.
I think that is the silver lining, is all of our plans to be outside have been thrown out the window because you just really can't safely go out there right now, can you?
Yeah. And so having those outdoor plans ruined is no big deal. And there is no sarcasm in this conversation right now at all, only lemonading.
Lemonading. So here is the reality, okay? As teachers, we are constantly handed new things, new initiatives, expectations, hence expectation inflation. We are given feedback. We take on emotional labor, and we often take on other people's stress and apply all of those things, I said as teachers, but also just as humans living on Earth. And with all that extra workload, some of it might be helpful, some of it might be neutral, and some of it is just heavy or unnecessary. And when you're looking at what is being, passed your way, you can look at lemonading as what you do with all that input, all of those things that are added to your plate. So it's not about saying all those things are fine and that's good and it's all an opportunity for learning. And it's not about that. It's about saying this part works for me and this part doesn't work for me. And that for me in lemonading has been the biggest gift for me so far in kind of exploring this way of being.
Yeah, I really think that we have been using this topic of lemonading all throughout this podcast. It's very much embedded into much of what we say. And it's about making the choices that help you design how you want to show up in your day, how you want to design parts of your life. So being able to evaluate and make choices with everything that's coming at you in your personal life and in your professional life is really key when it comes to this topic. So why does this matter so much?
Well, I just want to point out first that when you just said all the things that are coming at you and you're, dividing it out, home life, let's say personal life, and then your school life, it's not just coming at you in those spaces. There's that crossover now between worlds where I can be at work and my home life is coming at me and I can access everything, and I can be at home and work stuff could be coming at me and I can access everything. So I think this lemonading and creating this filter is extra important at this point because of what we can access. So if you don't filter what's coming your way, you absorb it. And if you absorb everything, the risk is, and we talk about it all the time on Eduwell, is that you put yourself at risk for burnout. And you're almost like the first line of defense. So we don't often make that connection between not filtering and the fact that we can burn out. But I'm saying it out loud. We are at risk of that if we're taking it all on and not using our filters. And we as teachers, we're not just about teaching content. All day we're managing our own energy and everybody else's energy, the students' emotions, our stress, the stress of our colleagues, and we have this pressure to keep up. And if there's no filter, it all really starts to live within you a little bit, and it shows in many other ways.
Yeah, this is where I think of my own mind and the things that we absorb as teachers, as parents, as women, as people. Since I learned that my laptop offloads things that aren't really necessary or in use, I see my mind the same way now. So there are thousands and thousands of files in there, and I can only store so many. And I try to pay attention to the ones that I need to store, and I see them going straight into all those little blue folders in my mind. And many get filed into the trash can, and others get stored for when I need to access them. That might be the reason why I forget a lot of things, but it's very much a keep or kibosh tactic. I'm not saying there's not very important things that we need to keep in our mind, because we do, and we are addressing very important people every single day, but we cannot possibly take all of that with us and function properly.
Well, as you were describing that, I was picturing, your beautiful system and it all just getting offloaded. That's great. But I'm picturing what happens when you don't. So I'm picturing the wheel of death spinning. I'm picturing the computer taking a long time to boot up. I'm picturing it shutting down at certain points. I'm picturing the computer going a bit fuzzy or just completely glitching out. All those visuals that we see when the computer is overloaded and too many things are happening. That's kind of what happens to us when we're feeling that overload. You become more reactive. You just do whatever, right? Instead of being thoughtful, drained of power, just like the computer. And, that wheel of death is happening. We need patience, but there's just less patience to go around. So the lemonading piece matters because it gives you a way to stay in the work without letting the work completely take you over. I love that you use that. I have to look into this system that you're talking about where the computer is starting to, offload some of the unnecessary. So what does it actually look like?
Well, I think it looks like small decisions throughout your day. We talk a lot about the decisions that we make in a day and which ones can we eliminate, which ones can we automate, and which ones do we just have to leave on the table?
Yeah. And the action on those decisions, it's not too big. It's not too loud. It's something that happens within you. It's just making decisions. So, an example of this would be always asking, should I take this in? Am I going to bother to take all of it, some of it? So an example for me would be when a new initiative comes my way and I read through it and I think, well, that sounds like this would work for me, but these pieces do not work for me. And it's me taking the parts that work for me and leaving the rest aside. I don't have to commit fully to all of it all the time. That's me using my filter and lemonading what does work for me in that situation. That's lemonading.
All right. It's also when you're taking feedback. So instead of taking it as a judgment of who you are, you take out one useful piece. And this feedback might come from your students, and it might come from your colleagues, and it might come from your family. That's always a fun one. But you have to decide how that feedback is going to work for you. That's lemonading.
Right? Or How about this one? You have a super tough class or a really rough lesson. This has happened to me many, many times where I'm not feeling I'm getting the engagement. It's not hitting at all. It's not working. It's not necessary for me, for instance, to make that define me as a teacher. That's one bump. And, I use it as a way to notice, what it's teaching me, of course, and then let it guide me in my next steps. And then also realizing that, like with everything, there's cycles of learning and people have good days and bad days, myself included, and maybe my students too. And just kind of going with the flow and not letting it completely define you. Filter out the 3 good things that happened. Like, at least I didn't break down and cry, and move forward. Lemonading.
I'm going to say overall change. I think that whatever the change is that's coming your way, and we deal with this a lot in our work, really looking at that change and seeing how you can make it work for you. Specifically, over the years, I have had to change the way that I teach, and I have had to change my approach to classroom management. And there are methods that used to work that don't work anymore, particularly when it comes to engagement. So I have changed in this area for the better. So that's where I get some lemonade.
She's adding the sugar. Just for clarity, like, we are adding sugar to the lemonade. We're not drinking it without any sugar. This is all the sugar right here.
It's easy to approach things with that sour attitude, right? Like, that's just kind of what naturally comes when something new or uncomfortable comes your way. You sort of retract from that. You might be resistant to it, but once you start adding that sugar, gets pretty good.
Yeah, it gets pretty good. And I find for me, sometimes I can't access this in the moment. Like, there's a requirement for me to have reflection time, to step away. Sometimes, a day ends or a week ends and I'm hypercritical and I'm seeing everything in a way that's negative. And to get to the point where I can get the lessons out of it or see the light, it just takes some time away. That's why I think evenings are so important. Weekends are so important. Breaks throughout the day are important. It gives you that space to get to the space where you're able to access this way of thinking. I think, though, in this moment, it's really important to acknowledge that we're not talking about lemonading or seeing a glass half full or silver linings in moments that are, serious, right? There are times where, let's say, something in the classroom is really serious. We're not suggesting that you find the lesson in it and, you need now action and need support, and letting it go is probably not a good plan because something needs to be addressed, right? We're talking about all those little minor things that happen throughout the day that add to your work or add to your stress level, and what you allow in and what you let go of. So the audience gets to pick and choose what they feel is a lemonading opportunity. We know what ours are. We gave you some examples, and what those moments are not, for sure.
We talk about rolling snowballs a lot, which is pretty convenient for the day that we're having today. And I think once you start squeezing those lemons and making them into lemonade, well, you could have a glass of lemonade every single day, because it really does help to give you an open mind, and it really does help with positivity. Once you start being positive in these different areas of your life, it sort of spills over into everything. So I can say with confidence that it has truly helped me, and I'm going to keep on making that lemonade.
Well, and don't forget, Chelsea, you get to decide if you're going to drink the whole lemon or part of the lemon, how much sugar you're going to add, how much you're going to omit. You get to decide what becomes nourishment in your body, what gets transformed into the lemonade, and, what just permeates the system. And the best part is, most of this happens quietly. There's no need for explanation, and you don't need permission from anyone. So just these small little choices that protect your energy over time.
Lemonade isn't about making something pretty. It's about making something livable. And honestly, for teachers, that might be one of the most important skills we learn. So let's get into the takeaways from this episode.
All right, well, let's take a little strut out to the well, and let's bring a lawn chair and we plop it down. And of course, we're going to pour a big glass of beautiful lemonade. And we're going to look out, and then the view is not so great. It looks like there's something going on in the field that's actually it's not pretty. We're going to turn our chairs. We're going to look the other way. We're going to enjoy that glass of lemonade. Time for the takeaways.
1, you don't have to take everything in. Not everything is yours to carry. Choose what you let in.
Lemonading is filtering, not forcing. Take what works, adjust what you can, and leave the rest.
And 3, as always, your energy shapes how you show up. Sustain it and everything gets better.
Thanks for listening to the Eduwell podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend, subscribe, and leave a positive review. It helps others to find us.
Follow us on Instagram and Pinterest to help spread the word. Until next time, be well
and do well.